Andrew M. Ladd III accepts with pleasure the kind invitation of Mrs. R. Ferguson Brown for a dinner in honor of her granddaughter, Melissa Gardner, before the Children's Charity Ball.
I'm writing this letter because I'm scared. If I called you up, I'd start crying right on the telephone. I'm really mad at you, Andy. Don't you know that when you're invited to dinner for a dance, you're supposed to dance with the person giving it at least twice? And I don't mean my grandmother either. That's why they give dinner parties, so people get danced with. I noticed you danced with Ginny Waters, but you never danced with me once. I just think it's rude, that's all. Straighten up and fly right, Andy. How do you expect to get anywhere in life if you're rude to women? Nuts to you, Andy, and that goes double on Sunday.
I didn't dance with you because I've got a stretched groin. If you don't know what that means, look it up sometime. I was going to tell you in person, but I got embarrassed. I stretched at playing hockey last week. The only reason I danced with Ginny Waters is she takes tiny steps. But you always make me do these big spins, and we could have gotten into serious trouble. I tried it out at home with my mother first, and it hurt like hell. That's why I didn't dance with you. I'm using a heating pad now, and maybe we can dance next week.
Well, I don't believe that hockey stuff. I think Ginny Waters stretched your groin. And the next time you cut in, I'm going to stretch the other one.
Huh? You obviously don't know what a groin is.
Oh, you obviously don't know what a joke is. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Guess what? I'm going to a psychiatrist now. My mother says it will do me a world of good. Don't tell anyone, though. It's supposed to be a big secret.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I have a question. Would you please write the answer by mail? Because sometimes when you call, my mother listens on the telephone. And when she doesn't, my little brother does. Here's the question. Do you talk about sex with the psychiatrist?
I talk about sex all the time. It's terribly expensive, but I think it's worth it.
If I went to a psychiatrist, I'd talk about you. Seriously, I would. I think about you quite often.
Sometimes I think you just like me because I'm richer than you are. Sometimes I really have that feeling. I think you like the pool and the elevator in my grandmother's house, and Simpson and his butler's coat coming in with ginger ale and cookies on a silver tray. I think you like all that stuff just as much as you like me.
All I know is my mother keeps saying you'd make a good match. She says if I ever married you, I'd be set up for life. But I really think it's just physical attraction. That's why I liked going into the elevator with you at your grandmother's that time. Want to try it again?
Help! Let me out of here! They shipped me off to this nunnery. It's in the end of the absolute world. We have to wear these sappy midi blouses and learn posture in gym and speak French out loud in class. Aide-moi, mon chevalier. Oh God, it's crappy here. All the girls squeal and shriek, and you can hear them barking in the bathroom after the evening meal. We can only go to Hartford one day a week if we can find a chaperone, and there are only 2 dances with boys a year. And if we're caught drinking even beer, it's wham bam on to the next train and home, which is worse. Can you come visit me some Sunday afternoon? We can invite boys to tea from 4 to 6. There are all these biddies sitting around keeping watch. But if the weather's good, we could walk up and down the driveway before we have to sign in for evening prayers. They made me room with this fat, spoiled Cuban bitch who has 9 pairs of shoes. And all she does is lie in her bed and listen to Finian's Rainbow. How are things in Glockamora? Who gives a shit how things are there? It's here where they're miserable. The walls of this cell are puke green and you can't pin anything up except school banners and pictures of your stupid family. What family? Am I supposed to sit and look at a picture of Rupert McPhail? Come save me, Andy. Or at least write, just so I hear a boy's voice, even on paper.
Just got your letter. They shipped me off, too. Last-minute decision. Your mother told my mother it would do me good. She said, I was a diamond in the rough. I'll write as soon as I'm smoother.
Dear Diamond, you too? Oh, I keep pushing us together and then pulling us apart. I think we're all being brought up by a bunch of foolish farts. Now we'll have to write letters, which I hate. But don't let them smooth you out, Andy. I like the rough parts. In fact, sometimes I think you ought to be a little bit rougher. Love me.
I'm very sorry to be so late in replying, but I haven't had much time. I also have a lot of obligations. I have to write my parents once a week, and 3 out of 4 grandparents separately once a month, and Minnie, our cook, who sent me a box of fudge. Plus I have all my schoolwork to do, including a composition once a week for English and another for history. My grandmother gave me a new Parker 51 and some writing paper with my name on it as a going away present, but still, that's a lot of writing I have to do. Last week, I was so tied up, I skipped my weekly letter to my parents, and my father called the school long distance about it. I had to go up on the carpet in front of the rector and say I wasn't sick or anything, I was just working. So I had to write my parents 3 pages to make up for the week I missed. So that's why I haven't written till now. School is going well, I guess. In English, we're now finishing up Milton's Paradise Lost. In history, we're studying the causes and results of the 30 Years' War. I think the Catholics caused it. In Latin, we're translating Cicero's orations against Catiline. How long, O Catiline, will you abuse our patience? When I get home, I'm going to try that one on my little brother. In French, we have to sit and listen to Mr. Thatcher read out loud all the parts of Andromache by Jean Racine. It's supposed to be a great masterpiece, but the class comes right after football practice, so it's a little hard to stay awake. In sacred studies, we have to compare and contrast all 4 Gospels. It's hard to believe they're talking about the same guy. In math, we're trying to factor with 2 unknowns. Sometimes I let X be me and Y be you. You'd be amazed how it turns out. My grades are pretty good. They post your weekly average outside study hall, and last week I got a 91.7 overall average. Not bad, eh? I got a letter from my grandfather telling me not to be first in my class because only the Jews are first. I wrote him and told him I wasn't first, but if I was, there are no Jews here. We have a few Catholics, but they're not too smart, actually. I don't think you can be smart and Catholic at the same time. I was elected to the student council, and I'm arguing for 3 things. 1, I think we should have outside sports, rather than keeping them all intramural. I think it would be better to play with Exeter, rather than just play with ourselves. 2, I think we should have more than 1 dance a year. I think female companionship can be healthy occasionally, even for younger boys. And 3, I think we should only have to go to chapel once on Sunday. Well, I think it's important to pray to be a better guy and all that, but if you have to do it all day long, it can get quite boring. And if you can get bored to yourself, think how boring you must be to God. I'm playing left tackle on the 13th, and I'll be playing hockey, of course, this winter. And I think I'll try rowing this spring, but I was stank at baseball. Now I have to memorize the last 5 lines of Paradise Lost. Hold it, back in a little while. There, that wasn't so hard. Maybe because it reminds me of you and me, sent away from home. I'll write it down for you. Some natural tears they dropped, but wiped them soon. The world was all before them, where to choose their place of rest, and Providence their guide. They, hand in hand, with wandering steps and slow, through Eden, took their solitary way. There you are. I wrote that without looking at the book, and it's right too, because I just checked it word by word. It's not so bad, is it? In fact, it sounds great if you recite it in the bathroom, when no one's in the shower or taking a dump. Love, Andy.
Thanks for your letter, which was a little too long. I guess you have a lot of interesting things to say, Andy, but some of them are not terribly interesting to me. I want to hear more about your feelings. For instance, here are my feelings. This place stinks, but I don't want to go back home because Hoover McPhail stinks. And I haven't heard of another boarding school that doesn't, which means that life stinks in general. Those are my feelings for this week. Write soon. Love, me.
One feeling I have almost all the time is that I miss my dog, Porgy. Remember him? Our black cocker who peed in the vestibule when you patted him. When he came back to the house after the skating party. I miss him all the time. Some of the masters up here have dogs. When I pat them, I miss Porgy even more. I dream about him. I wrote a composition about him for English called Will He Remember? I got a 96 on it. It was about how I remember him, but will he remember me? I have a picture of him on my bureau, right next to my parents. By the way, could I have your picture too?
Here's a picture of me taken at the Hartford bus station. I was all set to run away and then decided not to. This is all you get until I get my braces off at Christmas. Don't look at my hair. I'm changing it. By the way, do you know a boy there named Spencer Willis? There's a girl here, Annie Abbott, who met him in Eggertown last summer and thinks he's cute. Will you ask him what he thinks of her?
Spencer Willis says Annie Abbott is a potential nympho. I'm sorry to tell you this, but it's true.
Annie says to tell Spencer he's a total turkey. Tell him she'd write and say so herself, but she's scared of barfing all over the page.
Do you get out for Thanksgiving? We don't because of the war.
No, we do, but I don't. I've been grounded just for smoking one lousy Chesterfield out behind the art studio. So now I have to stay here and eat stale turkey with Cubans and Californians. That's all right. I was supposed to meet Mummy in New York, but it looks like she can't be there anyway because she's going to Reno to divorce Hooper McPhail. Yippee! Yay! He was a jerk and a pill, and he used to bother me in bed, if you must know.
I liked seeing you Christmas vacation, particularly with your braces off. I really liked necking with you in the Watson's Rumpus room. Will you go steady with me?
I don't believe in going steady. It's against my religion. I hated that stuff with all those pairs of pimply people in the Watson's basement, leaning on each other and swaying to that dumb music with all the lights off. If that's going steady, I say screw it. My mother says you should meet as many boys as you can before you have to settle down and marry one of them. That way you'll make less of a mistake. It didn't work for her, but maybe it'll work for me.
Can we at least go to the movies together during spring vacation?
I don't know, Andy. I like seeing you, but I don't want to go home much anymore. My mother gets drunk a lot, if you must know, and comes into my room all the time and talks endlessly about I don't know what, because she slurs her words. The only really good time I had was when I came over to your house Christmas Eve. That was fun. Singing around the piano, hanging up the stockings, playing Chinese checkers with your brother, helping your mother with the gravy. I liked all that. You may not have as much money as we have, but you've got a better family. So spring vacation, I'm going to go visit my grandmother in Palm Beach. Oh, hum, at least I'll get a tan. P.S. Enclosed is a picture I drew of your dog, Porgy, who I remember from Christmas Eve. The nose is wrong, but don't you think the eyes are good?
I'm stroking the 4th crew now. Yesterday I rode number 2 on the 3rd. Tomorrow I may row number 6 on the 2nd or number 4 on the 5th. Who knows? You get out there and you work your butt off, and then the launch comes alongside and looks you over, and the next day they post a list on the bulletin board saying who will row what. They never tell you what you did right or wrong, whether you're shooting your slide or bending your back or what. They just post the latest results for all to see. Some days I think I'm doing really well, and I get sent down 2 crews. One day I was obviously hacking around, and they moved me up. There's no rhyme or reason. I went to Mr. Clark, who's the head of rowing, and I said, look, Mr. Clark, there's something wrong with this system. People are constantly moving up and down, and no one knows why. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with whether you're good or bad, strong or weak, coordinated or uncoordinated. It all seems random, sir. And Mr. Clark said, that's life, Andy. Walked away. Well, maybe that's life, but it doesn't have to be life. You could easily make rules which made sense, so the good ones moved up and the bad ones moved down, and people knew what was going on. I'm serious. I'm thinking about going to law school later on.
Your last letter was too much about rowing. You know a boy there named Steve Scully? I met him down in Florida, and he said he went to your school and that he was on the 1st crew. He said he was the fastest rower in the boat. Is that true, or was he lying? I think he may have been lying.
Steve Scully was lying. He He doesn't even row. And if he did, and he rowed faster than everyone else in the same boat, he'd mess the whole thing up. He said he got to second base with you. Is that true?
Steve Scully is a lying son of a bitch.